This will be a lot of dates, lots of names, so I'm going to forego the whole not using the lesson or the phrase. Early 1980s, a musical artist named Sting was in the, had a friend who was a graduate student at Columbia University, and they went up and had devised this piece of technology that back in the early 80s was amazing, where they could pull in Russian TV shows. They do it on a Saturday night, and they were getting Sunday morning in Russia, so they were getting cartoons and all the children's programs. So that's how, that was sort of the impetus of writing the song Russia. And I have a Russian wife, so I've been indoctrinated into a lot of great history, interesting history. Russia's been around since 988. So the song resonates today. And hear the words of this song and realize this was written 40 years ago, and just other than changing some of the names, see the similarities. In Europe and in America, there's a growing feeling of hysteria, conditioned by responses to all the threats of the rhetorical speeches of the politics. We share the same biology, regardless of ideology. So believe me when I say to you, the Russians love their children too. 988, Ivan Borisovich. No, I'm sorry, he was the second one. So the forming of Russia was Norsemen came down into what is now known as Kiev. That was the original capital of Russia. It was called Kiev Rus. And so they kind of sort of formed, and then in 988, under a Orthodox Christian kind of structure, they formed what is now 1,000 years later, it's Russia. Talk about the fortitude of a country that would go through every one of their dynasties were as long as our country's been around. So all the way through to there's the Ivan the Terrible section, the Romanovs. Ever heard the story of Anastasia and the Romanov? And that was 300 years of family rule. The thing that showed the resilience of Russia was that the Mongols attacked and took over Russia 300 years. They never gave up their identity. That's longer than we've been around as Americans. They reformed in Moscow over the stories to kids, kept Russia alive, and 300 years later they took it back. I mean, when they started, they were kind of a European influence with arts, and Voltaire was a friend of Catherine the Great. If you've ever heard of Catherine the Great, she's another part of this dynasty. So then, like every country, there's some horrible, horrible stories. And for 30 years, Russia lived under Stalin, who was just as bad as that guy with the funny mustache. Killed millions and millions of people in those horrible ways, and Ukraine was kind of the beneficiary of a lot of that horror. So coming into today, you can understand how there would be long time held grudges. That being said, through some interesting Politburo heads, Khrushchev, he threatened the country. We will destroy you. And that's where we said at the time, no, let's not do that, because we love our children too. Yeltsin, there was a few kind of interesting characters in there, but then 25 years ago, Vladimir Putin came to power. For 25 years, he has transformed Russia back to its Orthodox Christian beginnings. If you ever seen him speak, he's very historical about the whole country for 1,000 years, and has really brought Russia into they're a market economy. They're not communist at all. They're less communist than some countries that have in the United States. They do have freedom over there now, and it's been developed. So they have national pride. And so, when the wall fell back in the 90s, the Berlin Wall, the Russians, Soviet Union broke up and said, all right, we quit. We don't want to do it anymore. But please don't expand NATO. You don't have to destroy NATO. Just don't expand. And when those negotiators for us at that time said, sure, no, we won't do that. So now, 17 countries later, NATO has expanded all to the borders of Russia. In Ukraine, the path for Napoleon, right straight through to Moscow, 300 miles across plains, very easy. Hitler, same thing, killed millions of them right through Ukraine, right through there. And when Putin said you're not going to put NATO in Ukraine, you said you weren't going to do it. We let you do it 17 times. It's not going to happen in Ukraine. And if you follow any news, you hear all points of view. Oh, it's their right to get into NATO if they want to. It would be like if Mexico made a deal with China, Russia made a deal with Canada, and said, hey, let's just build bases all along the southern and northern border. So this is a different perspective because I've grown up as an incredible patriot. I love this country, a constitutional republic that we've designed through all the centuries of history that honors us as individuals in a governmental structure. Very rare. Kingdoms, rulers, pharaohs. But we've got something unique. Let's hope it lives 1,000 years.